Good day and greetings from the Great White North. My name is Prickly Poo and welcome to day 186 of a year of change. Today we're going to steer away from the snack portions of things. The past couple of weeks that we've been doing this, last week we did avocado, but the week before we did a whole bunch of soy things. This week we're actually going to touch on something that sort of fits in with our fat intake, where we're watching our fats. We talked about good fats and bad fats and omega fats and fatty acids and cholesterol and everything else. And it's one thing that we haven't really touched on was seafood. So that's what we're going to do today. For some of you, though, and I understand this, there are some out there that are just going to be turned off by this and go, no, don't like fish, don't like seafood. I do actually know someone like this, that any sort of seafood, doesn't matter if it's fish, like trout, I can't think of any of the fish, so like trout and fish, salmon, tuna, it doesn't matter what it is, they don't like it. Shellfish, they don't like any of that. They don't like lobster. They don't like scallops. They don't like crab. What other shellfish are there? Mussels, which you can't really blame them for. Oysters, not a big fan myself. Or anything in between. It doesn't matter what it is, they absolutely hate it. So for some of you out there that are really averse to it, this may not be very helpful. But I urge you to try something different, because not all seafood has that weird seafoody, fishy taste to it. Some taste vastly different than other fish. And we talked about this before as well at one point, and there was actually... I do know someone who has a degree in marine biology who didn't believe this either, but it has been proven that technically there's no such thing as a fish. Which sounds really weird, just because everything lives in the water doesn't make it a fish. There's really a big difference between... a dolphin is a mammal, to begin with. Say, an octopus... and a trout, and a lobster, and a scallop. If you think of those four things, just because they all live in the water doesn't make them all fish. Same thing with things that live on land. Just because there's a lion, and a penguin, and a rooster, and a spider, there we go, doesn't make them all mammals. Or it does make them animals, but so anyway. We're getting off topic already. Stop it. All right. So, basically, there's going to be hopefully something here for everyone. The main thing with seafood, that especially where we've been looking at the different fats and things like that, is that the fat that you're going to be getting from the majority of seafood is not the same as the fat that you're going to be getting from other animal products, like beef or pork or anything else. It is going to have those unsaturated fats. And those are the ones that we're looking for. Or better yet, as we talked about before, the omega fatty acids that we need. That's always a good thing as well. However, just like anything else, this isn't a superfood sort of thing where you can say, oh, well, I can just have seafood all the time instead of regular food and it'll be great. It is high in protein. It's good in healthy. It has a good level of healthy fats. There's still plenty of vitamins and minerals and nutrients that you're going to get out of it. But again, it's not one of those things that you can just exclusively live on. So keep things in perspective. So, we're going to start out with a few quick little things. There are, for those of you out there that do enjoy seafood, obviously the basics. Canned tuna, canned salmon, whatever it is that you decide to do, you can use, those are the easiest ones probably to find, because you can, or to work with, because you can actually see the nutrition label itself. You can find out how much sugar is in it, how much sodium is in it. Now, prepared seafoods are going to have much more sodium than fresh seafood. So that is something that we need to look at, especially where we're watching our sodium levels now, is that if you have the chance to get, say, a whitefish fillet or fillet or whatever you want to call it, compared to something that's already been prepared, if they're roughly the same, get the fresh fish if you can. Generally speaking, though, it's probably going to be more expensive to get, but there's going to be there will be much less sodium in it. And that's important for what we're looking for. Now, practically speaking, though, if that's what if there's quite a bit of difference in there, and you're thinking, okay, I'm going to, sort of not necessarily stockpile, but get a few, then fine. Get what you need. Keep things realistic. That's what we're looking at. The basic fish, we aren't really going to touch on a lot of those. You can go for... Tuna actually doesn't have a lot of fat in it at all. I find tuna very dry. So if you are getting that, just be careful that you're not mixing in a whole bunch of mayonnaise and sort of undoing what you're trying to do. Salmon has quite a bit of fat in it, but it's healthy fat, so you're probably okay there. When it comes to fish, though, and actually I should have done this a couple of months ago when we did dults and fiddleheads. There was one that I really should have done at the same time called smelt. And I actually went yesterday and bought a bag of these. Basically what they are, they're just little fish. And all they do, they chop the head off and they gut them and that's it. Everything else is left inside. And left inside, well, there's guts are gone. And basically all you do, you usually take a big handful of them, roll them in flour, salt, and pepper, and then you sort of shallow fry them. And then you eat everything, the bones, the tail, everything, because everything on them is very soft. And much like if you've ever bought canned salmon, and it has, and this is going to sound gross for some of you out there, it has that spine in there that's all very, very, that's oh so soft. That's all very, very soft. It's the same sort of thing. You can pretty much eat everything off of a smelt, except for the head. You don't want to eat that because there's eyeballs in there. But it's one of those things that generally it'll sort of be in season here. I had to buy frozen ones, but I saw them and I was, I want them. And they're fairly cheap. So if you do get a chance to find them anywhere, definitely buy them. If you can get them fresh, that's even better. Frozen ones aren't going to be as bad as prepared ones or processed ones. Because generally speaking, they just chop them, clean them, and then they throw them in the freezer. So they don't really need to preserve them with salt or anything if they're frozen. But it's sort of a maritime thing that we have here as well as the dults and fiddleheads that I showed you. So if you haven't seen that one, I'll put a little link or something down below so you can find it. But it's one of those things that it's not a really super strong fishy smell to it. Which is kind of difficult to describe, but you know when you smell it. There are some fish that doesn't have that really strong odor to it, and that might be what sort of turns some people off. But they're very good for you. Anyway, regular fish. Shellfish, this is where some allergies come into play, because there are quite a few people that have shellfish allergy, and some of them are fairly severe. Find that it's sort of along the line of peanut allergies, where they go into anaphylactic shock. Or anaphylaxis, whatever you want to call it. But it's one of those, you're going to know if you're allergic to it. Well, maybe you don't. If you've never tried it and you're allergic to it, that might be a problem. If you're allergic to peanuts, you're probably allergic to that, I would assume. Anyway, some of them obviously are much more expensive than others. You're looking, if you get scallops or if you get lobster or crab or whatever it is. One that is still fairly expensive, but really good is shrimp. And oddly enough, it's one of those things that is almost perpetually sustainable right now. There's about, I think I read somewhere that, I don't remember where, sorry, but there's about 25% of all seafood that's consumed are shrimp. And the supply is well above the demand for it, which is weird because it's still very expensive to buy. And just to gross everybody out that enjoys shrimp, it's an arthropod. It's an insect, sort of. It's related to them. It's basically what it is. It's just a big bug in the sea. So you have no problem eating those. But if you were to eat a cockroach, no, that'd be disgusting. But anyway, the good thing with shrimp is that there are almost no calories to it at all. Even the large black tiger shrimp that you can buy, they only have about 10 or 12 calories in them each. So you can eat your fill, and you're probably only going to have 100 or 200 calories worth. Now, the only thing with shrimp is that even raw, they have a lot more sodium in them than a lot of other seafoods. So that is something to look out for. Of course, the main thing to look out for are the sauces that go in with it. Because with something like that, for many of us, it's, that's sort of what makes it. I've never been a big fan of the shrimp sauce or seafood sauce and those sorts of things. Generally, what I'll do is I'll just use salt and pepper. Which, if I make them, I have to probably cut down on the salt now, too. Because that's just adding more and more to it. Or, where we've been sort of working more with spices and things like that, it's always good. You can just sort of try mix and match those. Just sort of go from there. Try to avoid the things that are just going to take away the benefit of it. Sorry. The main thing with shrimp though is it's still the same as other seafoods. There's a lot of protein in there. There are those fatty acids that are in there that are good for us, the omega-3s and 6s and all the other good stuff. Again, seafood in general is fairly expensive, so it's not something that you're going to be able to do every single day. For some of you out there, there's basically that's what Friday is for. That because you can't eat meat, so you have to have fish. Actually, it's not just fish. Well, it is sort of, but and I don't remember when, but hundreds of years ago, I think, on this date, the Catholic Church had actually said that puffins were fish, which is really weird because people like to eat them and they wanted to be able to still eat them on Friday. So, in case you don't know what a puffin is, this is a puffin. They're very small and puffy and cute. But apparently, even though it's a bird, they said, no, it's going to be classified as fish so people could eat them on Friday. You now know an interesting fact. I can't even speak. You now know an interesting fact. There we go. Completely unrelated. That's not considered seafood. I have no idea what the nutritional value of a puffin is. I'm assuming it's similar to pigeons, maybe? Anyway, we'll move on from there. Don't eat puffins. People still do. You still can actually eat puffins, and there's a tradition somewhere, I want to say in Iceland or Finland. I'm going to say Finland, maybe. That they still catch them, and then they'll just kill them right there and eat their heart. I don't know why. I don't know what it is, but it's a traditional thing. Which doesn't excuse it, but because it's still kind of mean. You're just ripping open a bird, eating its heart, and I'm assuming they eat the rest of it as well. I don't think it's a matter of just going pop like Pez and throwing the rest of it away. So, moving on, because this has nothing to do with seafood. So we have, the processed seafood. If you're going to get canned fish or whatever it is that you decide to do, again, it's one of those things. Trying to avoid adding a bunch of stuff in there that's just going to take away the benefits from it, because you get a lot of good stuff out of them. But if you're adding in, mayonnaise and, just making sandwiches out of them, it's still better than nothing. It's still better than having, like, a steak sandwich or something. But it's, again, just like everything, we sort of have to curb what we're doing. So, and obviously you can add in other things if you like calamari or just regular scallops. You can just have those. There's a whole myriad of different ones in there. But the main thing, of course, and probably some of you are already yelling this out, is people say, well, there's mercury in them. There is, but let's be honest, we found out it's about the same level of danger as the radioactive bananas and the Brazil nuts setting off alarms, and we found out that peaches have cyanide in them. You're going to be fine. If you're eating a tremendous amount of raw fish, then yes, there's going to be a problem there, and obviously you shouldn't be doing that. But just like anything else, it's always good to go and do your research before you start panicking and saying, I can't eat this because there's thermometers laying everywhere in my seafood. So, there are some, you can't just live off one thing anyway. I have stuff in my throat. Fish. So, just like anything else, you wouldn't be able to eat just beef all the time. It wouldn't be healthy for you. You can't eat just lettuce all the time. It wouldn't be healthy for you. We talked about this before. If you ate just rabbit all the time, there's almost no nutritional value in rabbit. It's like corn, the meat of corn, the meat version of corn. But if you ate just rabbit and nothing else, you would eventually die of malnourishment. So this is why we need to sort of, for those of you out there that don't like seafood, we need to sort of broaden our horizons that way. Try new things. If there's stuff that you obviously know that you don't like, then fine. You can say, good enough, I've tried it. I know I don't like it. I've tried it recently, because we talked about that as well, that tastes do change. And if you still don't like it, then no, don't force it down, because just like Brussels sprouts, it's going to be disgusting and you're not going to stick with it. You're going to hate it. But there are a number of different things out there that taste completely different. Like tuna tastes completely different from shark, if you ever tried shark, which is kind of a weird ammonia pissy smell or taste to it. That tastes different than scallops, which tastes different from lobster, and then they taste different from smelt. I do urge you to try smelt. It's not super fishy, but it's very good, and I think you'd like it. So just because it's seafood doesn't mean it's going to taste like really strong, that really strong fishy smell that you may not like. And again, it's not a matter of going, oh, you need to try sushi. Not necessarily. If you don't like salmon, then there's other fish that you can try. Or shellfish, or what are the other things? There's shellfish, regular fish, dolphin. If you want to try dolphin. I don't even know where you would get it. Yeah, because I can't get dolphin or whale where I am. So, I don't think. Probably not. Even if I could, it's probably illegal. And I would probably feel guilty because I'm eating flipper. Not just its flipper, but actual flipper. I was going to do a puppet thing. Flipper. That's what he was, a puppet. He wasn't a real dolphin on the TV show at all. It was just an elaborate puppet. Anyway, so try different things. If you know that you don't like one type of seafood, try a different kind because you might actually find something that you like. I mean, even if you're like not a big fan of shrimp, maybe you'll like smelt. If you don't like salmon, then try a different type of, try calamari. I know it sounds weird because it's technically squid, but there are different flavors out there, and it's all beneficial one way or the other. And if you do find that you're just nope, not going to try it, fine. There are other sources out there that you can get your stuff from. So it's not the end of the world if you don't have it. So I'm going to put some links down in the description below. I'll put a link down there for the original video for the maritime stuff. I'm also going to put down, just unlike regular or other stuff, normally I'll put like a Wikipedia entry down there, but where seafood is sort of really diverse, I didn't want to just put in seafood, and there we go. So I'm going to put in 2 different links down there, which basically just sort of a vast amount of information on the risks of eating too much seafood, and how much is a safe amount compared to how much is a healthy amount. Safe amount really makes it sound dangerous, doesn't it? It's not, but it's still safer than eating Twinkies and chocolate bars all day. So think of it that way. But I'm going to put some links down there below, as well as, oddly enough, because there are so many things to do with this, I'm going to put in some recipes. For the first time, I'm going to throw some in there. They aren't mine. Where we sort of saw Jamie Oliver's talk last week, I thought, you know what, I'm going to stick with one person instead of just grabbing from everywhere. And I'm going to throw in some recipes of his. I don't know if they're good because I haven't tried any yet, but I'm assuming that they are. Also assuming that they're fairly expensive. Seafood generally is, so it's going to be one of those things you're not going to be able to do every single day, but it's going to be a little bit. Plus, I'll put in a link down below, just to sort of, aside from all the technical information that I'm going to be throwing up, putting up, I'm also going to put in a quick little link just so you can sort of go through just a generic seafood thing to see the different vitamins that come out of it, different nutrients. Like you'll see shrimp has B12, which is one that we can't actually process ourselves. We have to get from food. So it's a good source for that. So little things like that that's going to give you a little bit of information. There's way too much information to sort of put into one video. But I think it's one of those things that where we're, especially now, where we're really watching our fat intake, we're trying to replace some of the bad ones with some good ones. Seafood is a really good option for us. And if you're like me, you really, really like it. So I could easily replace, well, I wouldn't say all meat, but the vast majority of meat with seafood. Because you're still getting protein from it, you're still getting fats and sugars and all the other stuff that you need out of it. So, but again, not to cut anything out, we do need to keep things as diverse as possible. We need a nice balanced diet. So you do need your red meat and your white meat and your blue meats and your pink meats and your fish meats and your other white meats. So anyway, I'll put a whole bunch of information down below so you can go in and take a look, and hopefully for those of you out there that just are not a big fan of it, maybe you'll find something that you actually will like and sort of broaden those horizons a little bit more. But for the rest of us, I'm going to leave this video here. So thank you very much for watching. If you liked it, please poke the like button for me. And in the meantime, keep yourself warm and fuzzy, and I will see you in the next video. Bye-bye.